Do you ever struggle with the idea of wanting to do all the homeschool things, but you can't find time to fit it all in? Well, today I'm going to share with you how you can do it all and keep your sanity by using a loop schedule in your homeschool. If this is your first time visiting my channel, my name is Erin. I'm a homeschooling mom to 4 kids. I will have a kindergartner, a 3rd grader, a 5th grader, and a 7th grader. And we have been homeschooling from the very beginning. And I love to share things here on this channel that are just things that we have learned along our journey of homeschooling that have helped us to really create a peaceful, well, mostly, but just kind of this atmosphere of homeschooling where we really love what we do. And my hope is that by sharing things that I have learned, that it will help you to create a more peaceful and joy-filled homeschool for yourself. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button. Certainly one of the most difficult things to kind of wade through as a homeschool mom is the idea of, am I doing enough? Are we covering everything that we want to do and everything that we need to do, and still make sure that we are enjoying the process and it's not just a stress fest in our home? And so one of the ways that works for many people to do that is by creating a loop schedule. In a traditional schedule, a lot of people will have certain subjects planned on certain days, but then if something comes up and you can't get to that particular subject, it might not be that you get to that subject until a whole week later and you just miss it completely. If you've been around homeschooling for even a week, you know that things don't always go as planned. But basically, loop scheduling is where you kind of have a list of all of the subjects that you want to cover and you cycle through them. So rather than doing every single thing every single day, you have certain subjects that you cover, and then the next day you kind of pick up where you left off. So the benefit of doing a loop schedule is that you basically just pick up where you left off, so that even if something does come up, you can kind of just put the stuff to the side and know that you will get to your subject the next time that you do school. Using a loop schedule like this can really help to alleviate a lot of that stress and that overwhelmed feeling, where you can still cover all the things that you want to do, but do it in a way that is peaceful and that's fun and enjoyable for your family. And it really helps to allow for the freedom and flexibility of homeschooling. There are a few different ways to do loop scheduling. Some people use it for all of the subjects that they do and they just cycle through things. Some people, like we, have certain subjects that we do every single day that we are doing school, and then there are other things that are things that we want to get to periodically but don't necessarily need to do every single day. And so that is where loop scheduling can come in to save the day. Before you even get started creating a loop schedule of your own, you have to do one thing. And that is to change your mindset. Most of us go into homeschooling trying to recreate the school system that we either just pulled our kids out of or we have chosen not to put our kids into. One of the things that makes homeschooling so amazing is that you have the flexibility to create a schedule and a routine that works for you. If you're new to homeschooling, I have a little secret for you. You don't have to do every subject every day. That just takes so much pressure off of you. If you can get yourself out of that traditional mentality of how school should be and what school looks like, it can really just kind of open up so many doors to a rich and beautiful education for your family, which, if you have chosen to homeschool, I'm guessing that's one of the things that you desire for you. Today, I'm gonna walk you through and kind of plan with me our loop schedule that we will be using in the coming year for our morning time. I mentioned in my block scheduling video that I did a few months ago about our homeschool routine, about how we use a loop schedule during our morning time. If you missed that video, I will link it in the description below so you can go check out what kind kind of like a full day, a full week is like here in our home. Within that block schedule for us, we have a time period designated as our morning time that takes place during our kids' morning snack time, where we all sit down together as a family and we go through a handful of subjects all together. And these for us are the core subjects, things that we want to make sure that we are kind of building a family culture around, things that are important to us that are maybe not the traditional school subjects. Sometimes some of those things can kind of fall through the cracks just when things come up. So this really helps save the day and make us feel like we're getting everything done that I want to make sure that we cover in our homeschool. Okay, so you have moved on from that mind frame, right? And you're ready to actually build your loop schedule. The first thing that you want to do is to make a list of all of the things that you want to cover. So this is just kind of a brain dump time, brainstorming. So sometimes it helps to make a list of all of the things that your state requires you to teach. And you can find out what those things are on the HSLDA website. I will leave a link to that below. If you are not sure what your state requires, all of that information will be there for you. So make sure that you are covering all of the things that you need to cover. But this, if you are doing specifically a morning time loop schedule, this is where you want to list out all of the things that you want to cover that are maybe not part of what the school system and the superintendent requires you to be teaching your kids. For us, some of those things that are very important and foundational for our family are doing Bible or devotion time, some scripture memory. We really like to incorporate some of the beautiful things of this world, like artist and music study and nature study, as well as making sure that our kids are focused on things like the world and missions and how to be the hands and feet of Christ. Now, not all of those things may be important to you, and that is fine. That's the wonderful thing about doing this, is that you can customize it to exactly what you want for your specific family. So after you have that brain dump done for your morning time or your whole day, however you are creating your loop schedule, the next thing you want to do then is to go through and figure out the frequency that you want to cover each of those things. So for us, a handful of those things are things that I want to make sure that we do every single day in our homeschool as part of our morning time. And then I have a handful of things that I want to do about once a week. And sometimes we might have something come up a particular week and we don't get to every single one of these, and that's fine, because then again with the loop schedule, the next time we do school, we just pick up where we left off and we aren't missing out on that subject. It's just delayed a day. And then I also have some things that we want to cover around twice a month or so. So after I have my list of all the subjects that I want to do, I go back through and mark each one with a D if it's something that I want to cover daily, W if it's something I want to cover weekly, or a B if it's something I want to cover bi-monthly. That kind of helps me start to figure out how these things are all going to work together for our schedule. You may have some things that you only want to cover maybe once a month, and that is fine, or 3 times a week, or whatever it is. Just make that list of how frequently you want to cover the subjects that you have on your specific list. Okay, so now that you have figured out all of the subjects that you want to cover and how often you want to cover them, the last thing that you want to do is to make yourself a printout that you can work off of. So you want to group together the things that are the same frequency that you want to teach. Get those subjects grouped together and just have that in a list somewhere for you to access easily. It does not have to be a fancy printout. It can just be written on a notebook paper or typed up on your phone, or whatever is easy and convenient for you. Do not make this too hard on yourself. Let me just show you real quick what ours is gonna look like so you can have an idea of what I'm even talking about to begin with. So this is what our morning time schedule is gonna look like. How this works basically is that these subjects here are our daily subjects that we will do every single day when we're doing morning time as a family. And then we will do one of something in this list and one of something in this list. And so what I'm planning on doing is laminating this list, and then I have little paper clips that I will be attaching to the sides of the paper so that it will help me remember where we left off. And then after, say today we did geography and map drills, I will then move the paper clip down to the person of faith biography so that the next day I remember that that's what we need to do for that day. The paper clips will then just kind of cycle through on both sides the subject that we're currently going to be working on. So I have our subjects that we're covering kind of separated into 3 different categories. We are covering every day, we're going to be covering things of truth. And this is something that we've always done. We do a Bible study or a devotional book that we go through all together, and then we work on our scripture memory. And I do have a video about how we do our scripture memory that I'll link here if that's something you're interested in incorporating too. And then we are going to be doing history together. Now for us, we have historically kind of done a loop schedule where we either have done history, science, or health, or one of those kind of subjects that we cycle through. For like 6 weeks at a time, we would do one of those subjects, and then the next 6 weeks we would switch to a different subject. So that has been a loop that we have done kind of within the loop over the last several years. But this year, our boys are doing different levels of science because our oldest is kind of ready to move on older material than what his younger brothers can do. So they're going to be doing science on their own this year. So instead, we are going to focus on doing history pretty much every day, partly because that's my jam. I love history, and our boys all really enjoy history too, and we really enjoy doing it together. So that is going to be one of the things that we cover all together as a family. So then after we get through our truth subjects, we will move on to one of our goodness subjects. These ones here are all subjects that kind of relate to the world and missions and having a heart for people of different cultures, and kind of some of those social studies type subjects all kind of fall into this category. So the goodness being things that we can do to live out our faith and to help others and to be mindful of other people. So we're going to be covering this, where we will do our geography about once a week, where we work on memorizing the different countries and that kind of stuff. We read through biographies about missionaries or different people of faith who have done great things for the Lord's kingdom. We will be going through a mission study that is teaching us about the different religions of the world and what they believe and how we can share with them. Part of our history curriculum that we're using has us go through Hungry Planet and Material World. They're both books that kind of help you to have that global mindset and seeing how people live in different parts of the world. Another one that we will cover is Window on the World, which is kind of a prayer guide that gives you information about different countries and different people groups around the world and how we can be praying for them. And so we will then spend some time in prayer. So all of these will kind of link together because new countries that we will be learning about with our geography, then that will tie into what countries we read about in Hungry Planet, Material World, and Window on the World. So it's all kind of linked together. So for about a week, we will be studying a different country in kind of these different aspects of world and culture studies and that kind of thing. So we will generally do one of these subjects per day, and then the next day we just pick up again with the loop schedule wherever we left off. And then after we do one of our goodness subjects, we will move on to one of our, what I'm calling beauty subjects. And these are things that are all beautiful things that really enrich our lives in different ways and kind of showcase the creativity of people and how people can innovate and design and come up with beautiful things. This is where we're going to be covering and cycling through about twice a month, maybe, because this will be the one where if we're limited on how much time we have for a specific day, I'm not going to be too worried if we miss this for a day or two, and then we just kind of pick up when we can do them. And so I'm guessing that we will cover each of these things probably twice a month on a normal basis. These are things like picture study. We're going to be introducing Shakespeare this year, music study, poetry, nature study, and hymn study. And then I just kind of put on here, just for my own mindset, about how long I think it will take us to cover each of these different loops. So for the truth subjects, I'm guessing that will take probably 45 minutes to 50 minutes or so for us to get through all of these. And that's primarily because the history one can take longer for sure. Then Bible and scripture memory will probably be, 15 to 20 minutes per day, and then history will probably take up about a half an hour each day as we go through that. So the ones in the goodness subjects, I'm estimating will take about 20 minutes a day when we do these. Some of them may be a little bit more, some may be a little bit less. So just however long it takes us, that is fine. And then the beauty subjects are probably more like 10 to 15 minutes. So again, if this one takes us a little bit longer and we're short on time and we have to skip the beauty subjects for the day, that is okay. If you're looking at this and going, oh my word, I have no interest in so many of these subjects, that's fine. If looking at this list of things is overwhelming to you, or there are certain things on here that you have no interest in teaching your family, that is fine. You can customize this to whatever you want to do for your family. And I feel like too, if you are just starting homeschool, this is your first year doing it, don't try to do all of these things. My best piece of advice is to start small, start simple, and you can always add more later. Don't feel like you have to do all of this from the get-go, because that can be really overwhelming. So make sure that you just pick those handful of things, just a couple of things, and start with that, and then you can always add more to it later. We have one day a week that we have as an unschool day where we don't do structured learning. Our kids have time to pursue their own interests and learn about things that they want to learn about. So normally our morning time we do like 4 times a week. I will have a free PDF download in the description below that has our morning time schedule for you, so you can download that just to kind of use as a guideline if you want to create something for yourself that is similar. If you like the look of this template but want to customize it with your own subjects, I will have a link to a blank template in the description below that you can download as well. If you are interested in what resources we're using for each of these subjects, make sure you check out my family subjects video that I did about our curriculum choices that we're going to be using, and I will link that down below for you as well. We do our morning time during the kids' morning snack time that normally starts right about 10 o'clock. This loop schedule for us takes us about an hour and 15 minutes to an hour and a half or so every day, depending on how long we linger on some of these subjects or how much conversation that we have around some of the things that we're going through. And so for you, it might be better for you to do this during breakfast. A lot of people do that, or you could do it in the afternoon time, or even in the evening. It really doesn't matter what time of day you do it. The beautiful thing about doing a morning time or a group subject time together like this is that it really helps you to create a rich and beautiful family atmosphere where you are all learning about the beautiful things of this world and the important things all together as a family, and creating that kind of family culture. Your morning time certainly does not have to take as long as ours does either. It could be 30 minutes and you just have a couple of things that you want to try to cover that you can cycle through in that 30 minutes every day. That is great. Whatever you can do, just try to carve out a little bit of time during your day where everyone in your family, all of your kids, no matter the age, are all coming together with you to do something together. It is tremendously valuable and really fun, honestly, to be able to have that time to connect together.